Hey there guys, welcome to this video. My name is Pushpinder Gill, and in this video we're going to continue our conversation with regards to discovering social media influencers. So if you're on this video, just make sure that you watch the part 1 of it, where I talk about that social media influencers are needed to be found. And I kind of left off from that video stating that in the next part, which is this particular part, I will talk about how do you use social network analysis to find social media influencers. So what exactly is social network analysis? Now this technique is widely used in social science research. It's basically the process of evaluating relationships which are shared by entities in a network. So we're all so imagine Facebook. We're all friends with our friends, and they're friends with us. So we all have a network within which we are embedded. We have relationships with individuals, and those individuals have relationships with other individuals. So we are embedded within a network, and our location within the network determines how knowledge flows or how influence flows within a network, or how much influence you have within your network. So it's not a subjective technique. It's a purely mathematical technique. It gives you a mathematical analysis of different structures, where each individual is considered as a node. So that's what each individual is called. And the links between nodes represent the relationship between nodes. So there are many different ways you can have social networks. But I'm just going to come up with a very simple and the most famous social network, which is known as the Kite network. Now, this is a particular network where you've got some individuals. You got Andre, Diane, Fernando, Heather, Ike, and Jane. So these are all individuals. So each individual represents a node. And each line between a node represents a relationship, that there is a relationship between those nodes. Now, since there is no arrow on the line, which means that the relationship is bidirectional, which means that if Diane is connected to Fernando, which would automatically mean that Fernando is also connected with Diane. So this is a very simple bidirectional network. And this is a kite network, right? So what we can do is we can do some social network analysis on this, and we can find out who are the influencers within this network. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do some kind of analysis visually, and then we'll actually delve into some sort of mathematical analysis which will help you identify influencers in a large network where it is not possible to visually inspect the network. So, for instance, if you can just ask this question to yourself, which, sorry, you can ask this question to yourself: which individual do you think has the most influence within this network? So, you would say Diane. It's the most active node. As because she's connected to a lot of people who are already connected. So she has a lot of connections going through her. So she seems to be the one who's the most influential. However, if you actually look at Heather, she is in a very important position within the network because she's the only one who's connected to Ike and Jane. So if your marketing campaign wants to reach out to everyone, then you have to reach out to Heather, because Heather is the one who can transfer information to everyone, because she's the only one who's connected to the whole network. So if your goal or your goal of your marketing campaign is to reach information, is to make sure that the information reaches as fast as possible, then probably you'll choose Diane. But if your goal is to make sure that the information reaches to as many people as possible, then you will choose Heather. So what happens is that the goal of your marketing campaign will decide what kind of influencer are you going to choose. So, in nutshell, in conclusion, Diane and Heather's position are high. They are high in network centralities, but different network centralities. So in social network analysis, we measure influence through centralities. So Diane has a different kind of centrality, and Heather also has a different kind of centrality, which I'm going to talk about in the upcoming slides. So this is an example of a kite network, which actually tells you that when you are looking for influencers, you cannot just judge them on the basis of their number of followers. You have to identify where do they lie within that network of relationships. So even though Diane has a lot of followers or a lot of friends in this network, however, Heather is the one which has more important position or differently important position than Diane. So now let's get into these network centralities. Let's understand what what different type of network centralities exist and how these network centralities are connected with social media influencers. So what exactly is a centrality? So centrality basically measures who's the most important or the most central person in this network. And the answer to this question will actually depend on how do you define importance. Right, so you can define importance as the person who's connected to a lot of people, or as the person who is connected to the most number of people, or the person who is connected to as many people as who can reach out to as many people as quick as possible. So there are many different ways you can actually measure importance, and I'm actually going to pick up 3 different types of centralities which actually measure different types of importance. So the first type of centrality that I'm going to measure is known as degree centrality. So from a mathematical sense, it just measures how many nodes is one node connected to immediately. So basically the number of nodes that are one link away from one node. So it's basically the count of number of connections that you have. So it may be an effective measure of importance. However, it's not always the case, as we just saw with the example of Diane and Heather. However, if your goal is to reach out to as many people as quick as possible, then you will to as many people as possible, then you will actually choose someone with high degree centrality. And that is the something that we all always do when we look for influencers. We actually look for the number of followers that they have. So if in this example, if you want to measure the degree centrality of everyone, you would find that Diane is the one which has the highest degree centrality because she's connected to 6 people. She's connected to Carol, Andre, Beverly, Ed, Garth, and Fernando. So she has a highest degree of centrality. So if your goal is to pass on information to greatest number of people, then Diane will be selected. Right? So that's degree centrality, which is a fairly simple version of centrality. Now let's move on to different type of centrality, which is known as closeness centrality. So closeness centrality, it's the inverse of farness. It's basically how far away is a particular node to all the nodes within a network. So that's the measure of farness, and if you inverse that, that actually gives you the measure of closeness. So higher the closeness means that that particular node is closer to the whole network. So if you want to spread information as fast as possible, then you will choose a person with the highest closeness centrality. So degree centrality was as quick as many people as possible. Closeness centrality is as quick as possible. So if you want to reach to as many people as possible quickly, then you will choose someone with closeness centrality. Now, some of the times a person with high level of degree centrality may have a high level of closeness centrality, then both of the centralities are not going to differ. But it may be possible most of the times that a person with high closeness centrality may not have a high degree centrality. So let's just look here. If we actually calculate a person with high level of closeness centrality, then you would see that Diane doesn't really have high level of closeness centrality. It's actually Fernando or Garth which has high level of closeness centrality. Now, if you measure Fernando's closeness centrality, you can see that Fernando is just 1 unit away from Carol. Fernando is 2 units away from, 1 unit away from Andre, 1 unit away from Diane, 1 unit away from Garth, 1 unit away from Heather, 2 units away from Ike, and 2 units away from Ed, and 3 units away from Jane. If you add that up, you actually get a sum of 14, which is the measure of farness. And if you reciprocate that, you actually get the measure for closeness. So you would find that if you want to transfer information or spread information as quick as possible, then you would choose Fernando or Garth because they have the same closeness centrality. You would pass on the information to them. So you would choose them as your influencers. Now, your marketing campaign may have different goals. If you are a movie, if you're planning to launch a movie on Friday and you want to pick up an influencer on Tuesday, then probably it's a good idea to choose an influencer on the basis of closeness centrality rather than the basis of degree centrality. And the next type and the last type of degree centrality, which I'm going to talk about, is known as betweenness centrality. Now, betweenness centrality is basically a measure of how much control an individual has on a particular network. It basically quantifies the number of times a node acts as the shortest path between two other nodes. So it basically measures to what extent do you become a bridge between two people. So if you become a bridge between a lot of people, that means you have a high level of betweenness centrality. So let's suppose if your goal is to pass down the information to the whole network, right? So you want to make sure that the information reaches the whole network. What kind of marketing campaigns are those? I mean, you've got so many government campaigns where they want to pass down some medical information. For instance, in the times of COVID, governments wanted to pass down information regarding mask policies or regarding changes in their COVID policies. So they would probably choose someone with high level of betweenness centrality rather than other types of centrality. So if you actually look at this network here, Heather has the highest betweenness centrality because she acts as a bridge between the whole network and Ike and Jane. Information cannot pass to Ike and Jane if it doesn't pass through Heather. So Heather is acting as a bridge between these individuals. So she has a higher betweenness centrality. So that's the third type of centrality. So in a nutshell, we had three types of centrality. So we got degree centrality, which measures to what extent you are connected to people individually. And an influencer will be chosen if your goal is to spread the information to as many people as possible. Then there is closeness centrality, which measures how far away are you from how close are you from the whole network, and you will choose that if your goal is to pass down information as quick as possible. And then you got betweenness centrality, which measures to what extent you act as a bridge between two nodes. So you would be chosen, you will choose someone with high level of betweenness centrality if your goal is to spread information across the whole network. So that would be about this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. In the next video, we will actually delve into the process of doing social network analysis using relevant data. So we will use a statistical software to actually use real-time data and to actually find influencers using these three different types of centralities. Because right now we were just using visual inspection, or we were just finding influencers visually. It's not possible when you have millions of nodes or even hundreds of nodes or thousands of nodes. It's not possible to find influencers visually through social networks. So we will find these centralities using software, using real data in the next video. So thank you very much for watching this video, guys. I will keep adding more content. Please subscribe for more content. Thank you very much. I'll see you in the next one.